Moon Day, everyone. Do you like that new intro? Debbie created that, and I just think it's lovely, with the zodiac and telling you that we are going to be rocking the rhythms. And indeed, this week gets off to start with a very busy day in the heavens. So we're going to talk about that. And this week builds up to the new moon in Aries. So you might feel a little at cross purposes. The moon moved into the balsamic phase at 9:19 a.m. today. So that's the wind down of this current lunar cycle. And that wind down phrase has more import than it might usually, because we continue to complete the Pisces cycle, even though we are in the first week of spring, second week of spring, and we're anticipating the first new moon of spring. Really, it's kind of like the new moon is going to give you the go juice that you might feel is lacking now. Remember, light equals energy, and right now, there's less and less light coming from the moon until finally we will move into the dark of the moon, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So light equals energy, and you might find that you need more rest. Not only because of that, but because of this enormous upgrade that's going on regarding our DNA, regarding what it means to be human. As we move through the photon belt, I've mentioned that before, that happens once every 12,000 years, give or take 500 years. So that's a lot of photonic energy bombarding you, along with all the things we've created on Earth, the EMFs, et cetera, et cetera. We now know through the science of quantum physics that we live in a field of plasma. So we are connected in an electrical and electromagnetic field, as we are electromagnetic beings, underscoring the fact that there's only one of us here. And we also have an unprecedented number, as far as we know, of coronal mass ejections coming throughout 2022. So I know here in the high desert, we're seeing temperatures that are more like late spring, early summer. Although I've been watching the clouds come in from the west this morning as we are promised some rain. And boy, the desert really needs it. It's interesting as we move to this time of a fire, as we move into the Aries time of year. So, I'm hoping that fire just ignites my Christed self internally, and that the earth remains calm and verdant and receives some rain today. And that's appropriate. We are at the end of a water sign cycle, Pisces. And this is also another reason that this balsamic phase might feel particularly conclusive or lower more internal energy. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. And so it reminds us that it's a time of endings preceding these new beginnings. So I encourage you this week, from now through Thursday, to really glean the wisdom. Compost time is what this is in the planting cycle. So what have you experienced that's going to provide fertile soil for the next cycle, for this Aries cycle, when you truly start to build your system of sustenance? This morning, the moon is at about 23 degrees of Aquarius. And, that's the freedom junkie of the zodiac. So, whoops, dropped a pen that I don't need. So, as we move into this time of Aries, it's more important than ever that you work on your self-mastery and realize that the narrative that you want to create is internal, coming from your mastery, as opposed to external. Because, we are going to see the violence, guns, warfare more and more in the media. So choose your focus wisely. You want something to be uplifting rather than upsetting. Remember that. And you want to drop into your heart continually, to flood yourself with self-love, because you can't love the world and other people if you don't love yourself. I think RuPaul says something like that on his show. So right now, I want you to drop into your heart with me. I'm just going to do this briefly. Put your feet on the floor. Feel your soles of your feet, receiving love from the earth, giving love back to the earth. And feel the energy of the earth now come up through your whole body as you inhale. Feel the energy of the mineral, plant, all the kingdoms supporting you. And as the breath moves to the top of your crown chakra and you exhale, white energy, white light fills your body. So see all the colors of the mineral kingdom, all the colors of the earth come up through your soles of your feet on the next inhalation. And join with the white light. Now this light fills every cell of your body as you allow the breath to come and go, and you are grounded. You feel your hips supported by the chair you're sitting on. Your shoulders drop away from your ears as you exhale. Any negativity, any monkey mind stuff passes away as on the next inhalation, you breathe in that delicious life force, that prana, all the way up. And on the exhalation, you feel that all that mental energy just drop behind your face, behind your mouth, your chin, down through your throat, down through your chest, coming into your heart. And your heart is filled with light. And that light expands, that heart light, that love light expands, filling every cell of your body, moving out through your skin, surrounding you, filling your auric field, and you are filled with that loving, heart-centered energy within and without. And now you are here with me in the present as the world just goes away and we settle in to rock the rhythms of life by tuning into the moon this week. All right. So, that's a tool, and I do that every time. I do it for myself and for you. But that's a tool that's going to be more and more important as we move through a time when things are really ramping up. And, Aries always is like a burst of fiery, wonderful energy as spring is born. And so we feel that inside of ourselves. But also, it means when we have the equinox for spring, it ushers in the first quarter of the year. And the 8 phases of the moon that occur in every cycle are also repeated in the 8 phases of the year. Hi, Lisa. And it's great to see you. And everybody check in. Hi, Paul. Wonderful. Thank you. And so those 8 phases of the moon that go from new to crescent to first quarter to gibbous to full in the waxing, outward, active, building part of the cycle, then move into the disseminating, last quarter balsamic, and then a new moon. And those are the waning phases. So we are at one of the peak times of the active, outward, building, growing part of the cycle, the first quarter phase of the year. Each phase of the year lasts about 6 weeks. So this will carry us into the gibbous phase, which will be 6 weeks before the summer solstice. So during the first quarter of the year in the plant cycle, this represents the time when the stem and leaves of the plant form. And this is the delivery system for the nutrition that's needed to build a structure that can sustain the intention, or in the planting cycle, the bud and the blossom that are to come. So your consciousness, the actions you take on your intentions, your daily routine, and your commitment to your daily practice regarding your own mastery becomes really important. It's time to take action on that now. Now all the work that you did in the depth of the dark in the winter now forms a strong, visible structure. And you're asked, what is it you want to grow? Where do you want to focus your energies? And this is something, if you have made a plan, personal plan, when the cycle was in Capricorn, and gotten your vision in order for yourself, humanity, and the earth, and started walking that, looking at how you're going to walk that on a daily basis when the cycle was in Aquarius, and now when you're asked to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed. And remember that your spirit having a human experience as we have moved through this Pisces cycle, and with Mercury there until yesterday, to really open up those channels of divine communication in new ways, wider than you ever have before, all the way out to galactic communication. That's the possibility. So as all of this has happened, you really did some fabulous work. The beginning of the year always feels kind of like a slow time, because it is that time when we firmly get the seed planted in the ground, fertilize it well with an uplifted, good, focused consciousness, and look at what we need to move out of the way. What are we leaving behind? What no longer serves? What isn't aligned with the intentions that we're setting? So at the first quarter, we are halfway through the waxing part of the energy of the year, that outward active building time. So everything begins within, and as within, so without. So this work was time very well spent. And if we lived in attunement in our culture, in our world, with the rhythms of life, then we would not ask to be shot out of a cannon. Hi, Leslie. We wouldn't be asked to be kind of shot out of a cannon or be like a rocket from January 1st, which is the fiscal year. And of course, we know that for finances to be successful, you need a financial plan. So it all fits in, but you have these phases of the year that are really what our bodies, nature, everything runs to. So as you start to observe the seasons more and honor the rhythms of light and dark, of inward, outward, of high energy, and then diminishing energy that moves you more inward, the more you will find some grounding during this time when the ground seems to have shifted mightily. So as we move into today, I mentioned that the moon is in the freedom junkie, humanitarian, innovative sign of Aquarius. And we have quite a lineup today, conjoining with Saturn. We have the moon, Venus, Juno, and Saturn all together in Aquarius. So this is a lot of energy around relationships. And as we're finishing the Pisces cycle, we're told, and we're in the balsamic phase, we're told to compost those old dreams that no longer work. And you might have found that at times Aquarius feels the collective. So you might find that at times you actually feel the grieving that's going on in the collective for the old world passing away. We know that it needs to, so we can be elevated in our evolution, so we can create a more equanimous world that works for everybody. But it's still, it's a leaving behind of this old world and our old dream of that world. So the moon, of course, is your emotional nature, and Venus is the big player here. And it's very interesting that Juno is also involved in this conjunction with Saturn. So Saturn has to do with form, structure, commitment, accountability, responsibility. Venus has to do with attraction. And of course, we think of relationship as well as finances, because it has to do with what we need to be who we are. It also has to do with pleasure. And as it moves to Saturn, are you having fun? Is there enough play and fun in your life these days? I know sometimes the winter, I found that I went through, kind of a downtime, and I had to rest more as this upgrade of light is happening. It's calling for more rest with our bodies. And now this balsamic phase is underscoring that. So you might find that relationships are much on your mind, and also your financial plan going forward. Seeing if you are living in scarcity, because Saturn can make you feel squeezed down and limited, or Saturn thrives when we have a plan and we have a blueprint. And it makes a promise. Saturn says, I'll pay you back for hard work. So taking those first 3 months of work that you did, even though it might have felt a bit foggy as Mercury moved into Pisces, and with all this energy in Pisces, it's asking you to take your marching orders from a higher source, to tune in before you move forward. And Juno is a relationship significator. Juno is the goddess of marriage, and she also is the representative of a woman scorned, so to speak. So you might find that, you know, really looking at your relationships, are they contributing to your soul growth, or are they limiting you? Are they not aligned with where you're going? I mentioned last week about your individual sovereignty in relationships. And of course, as we move into this Aries energy more and more, that becomes more and more important. Is there a give and take that feels equal? Is it win-win? Do you communicate well? Are your values the same? And this is a theme with that Taurus North Node that continues to run through the next 15 months or so. So values is the underpinning. So values underpins your vision, and your vision dictates your decisions. So look at it that way, okay? So relationships, you know, they're in focus. They're in focus, you know, throughout this week and on as we move into Aries, especially as we're looking at Mars, you know, coming up itself to join Saturn on April 4th. So this new balance where Mars and Venus have been traveling in the same sign from Capricorn through Aquarius and then into Pisces, we're reminded that a new balance is afoot in our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with everybody else. And, you know, the new moon will be a great time to set intentions around that. And you might look at just patterns that you might have repeated in relationships that have to do with how you attract those particular relationships or lessons. We learn lessons like no other time when we are in relationship, right? It's such a mirror. It's either a beautiful mirror of awareness and togetherness or a tug of war. And we get to look at that and then look back within ourselves and see if we are aligned with what we truly desire and need and want. So be willing to have those conversations. But yesterday, Mercury moved into Aries. Now, in typical Aries style, it's moving really quickly. It moves into Pisces on the 12th. It moves into Taurus on the 12th of this month. The same day that we have that Jupiter-Neptune conjoining together that we've all been feeling. We've been feeling the buildup because this is big. It's a once in every 166 years occurrence. So we're feeling this portal opening and asking how we are called to respond to this. What does ascension within ourselves and our consciousness mean for us? And so this is also another thing that at times is asking you to just take a break, check in, become silent. And I find sometimes it's as though my body tires so that I will lie down or sit down, kick back, and just move myself, my smaller self, out of the way so I can hear the messages of evolution and ascension that are coming through to me. And that might be true for you too. So be gentle with yourselves during this time. Not just during this time, be gentle with yourself going forward. We are creating a new culture that includes sacred self-care on every level. Because the more we have our own well filled positively, lovingly, the more we will be able to contribute to the world and to experience the world in a way that really feels good to us, that keeps us enthusiastic and joyful, that keeps us hopeful and knowing that the impossible, and I love this, Damien Calmet said this yesterday, impossible is I'm possible. So it opens the door to all possibilities. So if you just recouch some terminology, some words, and your thoughts, and drop into your heart, and just let that energy love yourself. And remember to dance with life. This is what this Pisces cycle has reminded us as it rules the feet, that the dance is all there is, truly. So as we move through today, as I mentioned, Mercury's now in Aries. The challenge with that can be knee-jerk responses. And if you're really sensitive, you might find that you feel that some things are really inappropriately or unfairly directed toward you. And Aries is personal. It's very personal. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the sign of me, myself. I'm here to do me. And it is a pioneer. It's bold and daring and can be very, very focused in its fire. But with Mercury there, you may find that people have these knee-jerk responses, that they don't think before they speak, that they say things that may be hurtful or just inappropriate. And that's where you can drop into your heart and just have compassion, knowing that, oh, yeah, that's what's going on, and watching in your own life where that occurs. I had a couple of experiences myself yesterday when I said a couple of things where I was like, who was that? You know, it was just direct response with no filter. So this is something to watch out for. Also, drive carefully. You know, this has been going on because we've had Mars and Venus last week square Uranus, and Uranus rules accidents. So people also are just going to be speeded up. Mercury rules transportation and communication. So people are just speeded up. They're thinking quickly, sometimes not, sort of like not thinking at all. So just be aware, as Mercury is in Aries, to that the energy actually can be used for wonderful things if there's planning behind what you're saying. So that's where the breath, just taking a breath and dropping into your heart when you're listening and when you're talking to someone can become really, really helpful. As we come to tomorrow, actually, we have a void of course moon most of today, and at 9:30 p.m. tonight, the moon will move into Pisces, and so you will be there will be wind beneath your wings as far as going back and reviewing what you created during this cycle and how you connected with the divine on a daily basis. Extremely creative energy and the most emotionally sensitive energy of the zodiac. It reminded you to pay attention to your lymph system, your inner ocean, which movement supports, and also meditation, that third eye, to open your pineal gland and let the light flood in, which light is information. So that's really where the messages come from. So Tuesday, not a whole lot going on except for you to look back. Just be mindful as you go through your day of how these past 28 days have unfolded for you since the moon was new on March 3rd. What have you created? What did you commit to? Where were patterns perhaps of victimhood or suffering still being allowed in your life? You might find with the South Node in Scorpio, trining the Pisces energy, that you were put in touch with times when you felt marginalized or when you felt like the underdog. And so the Scorpio North Node is continuing to remind us that as these shadows come up, to face the feelings, feel them, allow them to run through you, and cut the cords. You know, as I've mentioned before, you can always call in Archangel Michael with his wonderful flaming sword to help you cut the cords to past hurts, past attachments to hurt. Because, you know, it's interesting how we encode the tapes of these things that hurt us or that create, disappointment or frustration in us. But the fact is, the moment has passed. So Scorpio reminds us that every time we recall those hurts, those perceived, those perceived emotional damages that have happened to us, that we're stinging ourselves again and again and again. And so that's a lack of self-love. It's not somebody else lacking love for you, from which, the point from which it originated, but it's you lacking love for yourself. So I find something that Chris Evans said, the actor, a couple of months ago when I was watching something, to be really helpful and really simple. When the mind starts to go there, you first of all, you're going to take care of it. You're going to do some cord cutting. You're going to acknowledge the feelings, feel the feelings. And then just when the mind is in overdrive, just shh. I find that just doing that, you might try it now if your mind is somewhere other than here with me. Just shh. That's also something you can do as you drop into your heart. If you're letting your monkey mind go, if your mind is trying to be a master rather than a good servant. So, on Wednesday, you might, ask yourself if new gifts are coming up as you glean the wisdom. What are the gifts? What are the blessings? Especially if there were some, I don't know, some altercations or some things that just didn't seem to be on course, or your energy was unaligned, or you felt like nothing was happening. Really allow yourself to look at all the inner work that went on. Allow yourself to forgive. I know many of you are familiar with Ho'oponopono, and I find that that is such a powerful tool always, but especially during this time with this, the South Node in Scorpio, meaning the past, and all of this energy in Pisces. So, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for anyone. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you can, there are things you can get on YouTube. You can, play it and say it along with it, or just going through your day. It's a wonderful way to clear your field. You'll be amazed at how powerful it is in clearing your field. So I'm looking for the time when the moon moves into Aries. And that happens at 2:31 a.m. Thursday morning, really early. The moon moves into Aries as it prepares for a new moon. So as we move toward the new moon on Thursday, that new moon is going to happen at 11:24 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So we'll be on Friday if you're on the East Coast, or adjust your time zone accordingly, 11:24 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 31st, Thursday, March 31st. And it will be at 11 degrees and 30 minutes of Aries. So you might find that you're really feeling renewed as the last day of March approaches and the moon enters pioneering, initiatory, fiery Aries, bold and daring Aries. And that's what Aries calls for, bold and daring action. It's like, okay, you've set a wonderful foundation over the past 3 cycles. Now, what are you going to move forward on? It's time for action. And Aries has to do with the will. So know that with all that energy in Pisces, especially Neptune, addictions can rise to the surface. And toxicity, whether it's, it can be alcohol, it can be marijuana, it can be whatever it is, but you're more sensitive than ever to the effects of that. It's like a drop is like a gallon, so to speak. So just be aware that a lot of these substances actually fragment the will chakra. And, that's part of why people, indulge in them, because it stops. If the will is misdirected, if it's directed towards something that is not aligned with your highest good and greatest joy, then that fragmented will can feel good. It can feel like, oh, I'm escaping, and my will is just calmed down. But ultimately, it takes time then also to come back into a detox state. Ultimately, you want to address if you're overindulging. Jupiter with Neptune can definitely produce that. So just really be aware, choose wisely, do really good sacred self-care, and reinforce positivity in your life. Aries is the initiatory fire of spirit coming into human form, coming into form in the world. That spark of spirit. Fire is spirit. And as I said, the challenges with Mercury in Aries, you may find that there are some knee-jerk things going on. Just don't have it happen when you're in your car, particularly. And remember that the theme of relationships continues to run through this time with Mars and Venus tracking each other in Aquarius. Detach from situations that are toxic. And you might feel that this is a great time to pay attention to your muscles. Aries rules the head, the blood through the brain, the muscular structure. And so it's a great time to have outlets for this energy. Oftentimes, anger, etc., comes up because we're not physically active. And we've had a lot of winter going on, right? So it's time to get out in nature, connect with nature, connect with the elements every day in whatever way you can. Water, fire, earth, air, the ethers, the etheric. Connect with all of it. And it doesn't have to be a long practice, but it will contribute to your mastery, your ability to raise yourself up, your ability to be the lighthouse that you are in this time when darkness seems to really be fighting for its life. And it's fighting for its life, the darkness is, and that's why it seems to be so pervasive. And of course, the media is one of the big tools it uses. But you are light, so allow yourself to shine that into any dark corners of your life and get those dust bunnies out with positive affirmations, with music, with poetry, with whatever it is, with initiating something new. That's what Aries is asking you to do. And actually, I'm going to go to something that I wrote when I was writing the journal, because I was doing, there's all this research on the astrology and the planets, and there is quite a lineup at the time of this Aries new moon. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But get ready to seize the day and turn over a new leaf. You've got to take a leap of faith and approach life with passion, courage, and bold action. Necessary changes and innovative new directions get a green light. Rebirth, rejuvenation, self-discovery, and fresh new beginnings are themes for this Aries cycle. So the new moon kicks it all off. It ignites fresh starts in more than one area of your life. With Mars traveling through Aquarius, that area is also being ignited. So check out where that is, where all those planets are moving in your chart. And this third of the sky that everything's in is widening out as Pluto is in Capricorn. And now we have things in Aries and then Uranus in Taurus. So the sky is widening out gradually, but we still have this need to connect with spirit, really stay in touch with spirit, so that we have the proper perspective, because as I mentioned last week, it's hard to get a proper perspective with those planets being so close together. So as always, love is the answer, and spirit, your spiritual connection is one of the biggest sources of loving guidance in your life. So I mentioned that Aries rules the head and brain, so don't be too hasty and headstrong. Think before acting. And remember that others are big keys to your forward progress. Again, that emphasis on relationship that is being so brought into focus today. So assertive Mars is traveling through Aquarius. I just talked about that. And the big question is, what are you willing to do to have the life you want? Who are you willing to be to have the life you want? Even more so. Those two things have to be balanced. And with this new moon occurring at 11 degrees, balance is a big thing. 11 is often thought, it's the first of the master numbers. 1 and 1, they represent, in much ancient lore, they represent the two columns as you enter the temple of Delphi, where the oracle was. And so it's tapping into that divinity. 1 and 1 equals 2. 2 is the divine feminine. When we are out of alignment, when we are out of balance with our inner mastery, And between the masculine and the feminine, then we devolve into the one and the one and become separate from ourselves. So there's a lot contained in the fact that this new moon is at an 11. You know, we had many new moons in a row at 12 degrees, and that was telling us that something was being born, but that something had to die or pass away in order for that to happen. And now we're told that our self-mastery is the key, and that maintaining a balanced way of beingness is our big key. So it's fire, it's cardinal energy. Cardinal energy always kicks off the seasons. Capricorn, Libra, Aries, and Cancer, they each kick off a season. So cardinal energy is powerful in its action orientation. Ruby, diamond, bloodstone are the gems and crystals. The flowers are geranium and honeysuckle. Colors are red and white. So a good affirmation is, I am taking enthusiastic, constructive action to bring my dreams and goals down to earth. So I'm going to repeat that again, because remember, you're being asked to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before, right? And that's ramping up even more in April with this conjunction coming. And that conjunction is going to be felt as it separates. You know, it's going to really show us what it was all about as it separates or moves away, as it moves out of being at the exact degree. I am taking enthusiastic, constructive action to bring my dreams and goals down to earth. So this new moon has quite a lineup in Aries. And that lineup is Mercury, the moon, the sun, Chiron, right there at 12 degrees next to the 11 degrees of the sun and the moon, Pallas Athena, and Eris. All of these elements are in Aries. So with Chiron, we know that this cycle may bring some brand new developments in healing. And it also can operate that way in your life. Healing issues around being able to express your individuality. Now, this is one of the things we're going to feel at this new moon. It kicks off this need to say what might have been left unsaid. That's why dropping into your heart, taking a breath before you speak is important. Not to not say it. It needs to be, you know, these things need to be expressed out of your body, out of your psyche. But, you know, if you want to have a little hissy fit, that might be a good thing to do just outside. Just do some locomotion, stamp your feet, go, whoa, you know, get it out rather than at somebody. It's just something to think about if that seems to be your predilection. I love the fact that Chiron is united here with the new moon, because that is telling you that there are new beginnings, brand new beginnings regarding healing any issues around expressing your individuality, expressing your creativity. This is an extremely creative new moon. And it also asks you what you are a crusader for in your life. What's the new earth that you're pioneering in your life? How do your relationships reflect that? You know, I'm finding as I look around that I have wonderful relationships, friendships, connections. You know, COVID definitely put a dent in my ability to boogie with them like I would like to. That's beginning to happen again. You're part of that. Wonderful relationships, heart-centered, light-filled, love-filled, supportive, aligned. I know there was a lot of shakeup going on over the 2 years that COVID created that disconnection, but it really allowed us to think about a lot of things about what we were truly aligned with. And so now that we've come into more understanding of what we want to be aligned with and who we want to be aligned with and the consciousness that we want to be aligned with, we can move forward and we can build a sustainable system with those relationships in tow, with that wisdom in tow. After all, I remember when I first started dating when I was in high school, and I remember my mother saying that the most important thing was sharing values, that if we didn't have values in common, that it wouldn't it wouldn't run the course. And that takes time, which is one of the things that Mars in Aquarius reminds you. It reminds you of the value of friendship and to put some energy into your friendships, your communities. These are some of the things also that you might want to be a pioneer regarding as this new moon in Aries dawns. You might find that new abilities and new gifts come up. So remember your wish from the last full moon and turn that into an intention. To have an intention for healing yourself, healing the planet, to have new methods of healing come up that are non-invasive, proactive, that are, that are miraculous. We're living in a time of miracles. I know sometimes it may not feel like that, but when you move into your creatorship, there it is. And this is that divine spark of spirit igniting in you at the time of this new moon. It's really, really wonderfully powerful. So saying what needs to be said, feeling renewed on the last day of March. I think it's so amazing that this new moon occurs right as we move into April. And where you are, it may be that it occurs on April 1st, which is some lovely timing. And asking yourself what you're going to pioneer. What are you a crusader for? So as we move through the week, on Friday, and I'm going to go back in a minute to remind you, actually I'm going to do this right now while I'm talking about the new moon. Simply, your intentions are concise statements. I happily and thankfully create, intend, but I happily and thankfully create during this cycle. Something simple, because you're going to put 3 action steps underneath each intention. 3 action steps. And so you don't have to make it a long sentence. You might want to do a brain dump. Take a piece of paper or 2 and just do a brain dump so you get it down to a concise sentence. Simple, clear. And as you do that, I suggest that you only do 3 or 4 categories. Health, if you are healthy, everything else is much easier and possible. So health, relationship, business and finance, and family and home are 4 that you might, 4 areas. Or you might separate business and finance. It's up to you. Or separate family and home. But no more than 4. And the reason is because your feelization, the feelization that you do at the new moon, and I always say you'll realize what you feelize. The feelization you do at the new moon, you're going to want to continue to repeat throughout the cycle because that's what's going to fast track your intentions. Facts don't create. Feelings create. And with all of this fire in Aries, you want to be able to harness those feelings proactively, positively, creatively to move you into a positively focused direction that aligns with your dreams, your vision, your plan, your goals. So after you have gotten your concise intention, you want to move into a quiet space. Let your breath come and go. Close your eyes and bring that first intention into your mind's eye. And as you do that, visualize what it looks like to have that intention manifest right now. Get a really good picture of it. Just allow yourself to expand that into that picture of that intention. What does it look like? What are the colors, smells, sounds, people, locations, whatever it might be? And then see that energy of your intention in your mind. On the next inhalation, drop along with your consciousness down, down, down into your heart. And as you have that picture in your heart, you step into the picture. And as you step into the picture, you feel all the feelings that go along with that intention manifested right now in the present moment. So as you do that, allow the joy, perhaps the relief, the excitement. Enthusiasm is a big word for Aries. Enthusiasm. I want you to remember that word throughout this month. Enthusiasm. How can I be more enthusiastic about my life? and move your energy more and more out of your heart. Your heart energy fills your whole body, your whole being. The feelings ride on the light from your heart, and you are in that space of your intention manifested right now, brilliantly, beautifully, enthusiastically, boldly, wonderfully, joyfully. And then the energy ramps up and moves through your skin to fill your auric field. And now you are at the frequency of feeling this intention manifested right now, outside and inside, within and without. And you just enjoy that. Usually I find that I'm smiling by the time I'm done with this process. And then you open your eyes. And you might want to take a note or two on what came to you during that feelization. And then you want to put 3 action steps underneath each intention. You do this with each of your intentions. With your health, what does it feel like to have strong, toned muscles, to be in good shape, to feel, lighter, more light filled, whatever it might be. To be doing the things that you need for a healthy brain, so that you're not stressing your brain out and setting yourself up for something. So as you do that, then you put your 3 action steps and you calendar those. You put dates for those action steps. When are you beginning those? You don't want to miss this part of the year, because as I said, it's 6 weeks long. And then in this cycle, you've got the waxing part of the cycle, the first, week to 2 weeks. So you want to really put your action steps there, and you want to, note, calendar, put it on your calendar when you're going to start to take action on each of those action steps. So you're committed to it. And again, Mars is going to be coming up to conjunct Saturn, and it's asking you, what are you committing your energy to? Going to be talking more about that next week. So then gratitude. What are you grateful for? And hopefully you can fill a whole page at least with that. But 3 things that you're grateful for when you finished your process, because gratitude is the fertile soil in which all intentions are planted, thrive, and flourish. And that's a way to move yourself out of any mood you might be experiencing also, to just be grateful. Grateful for every object you pick up, grateful for your food, grateful for your home, grateful for your friends, grateful for whatever is in your life. And that will lift you up. And it's alchemical. It's magnetic, because you're affirming your havingness, and it attracts more. So that's the new moon. And, it's quite a kickoff. It kicks off the zodiacal year and the first quarter in the lunar year, in the natural, what I call a natural year. So then we come to Friday. And on Friday, you may find that conversations are a little awkward. That this knee-jerk kind of compulsive sort of communication might come up. So just try to avoid being too sensitive. Just keep dropping into your heart. And remember that if a person needs to express themselves, it doesn't hurt you. It's about them. So you can, exhale and drop into your heart and just keep that field a field of love. And then if something does trigger you or sting you, or you do the same to someone else, look under, look at the deeper level for where that came from. And release any guilt, shame, blame that's associated with it as you cut the cords to that old pattern. Use it as an opportunity. As always, love is the answer. And if you're not able to do that, you may find that resentments linger as you move through Friday and on into the weekend. So I hope that you remember these tools and use some of your own. I'm sure that you have wonderful tools that you use as well. So on Saturday, we have a void of course moon from 1:51 p.m., just a couple of hours until 4:50 p.m. But that's in Saturday afternoon. So, it's a good time to just kind of really remind yourself that the weekend can be for chilling, taking some time out, really, getting really secure in what you set out at the new moon, and is it are your action steps on your calendar, and what steps do you need to take to support that new balance, to keep those relationships flowing in a direction that gives win-win situations so that you're able to communicate and express yourself always authentically. And Mercury, on Saturday, Mercury actually comes to meet Chiron. So hurt feelings can be brought into the open to be healed also on Saturday. So, that's later in the day, because you might find that the morning's a little bristly. So Saturday's kind of a good day to kick back until later in the afternoon. Go to the farmer's market, whatever you want to do. But just remember to breathe. Just remember to really just be that lighthouse living from your heart. See what happens. It's magnetic. It really is. And then on Sunday, actually at 4:50 p.m., when the void of course moon ends, we have the moon of course then moves into Taurus. So the Venus element comes back in, which is lovely. And that's also why later in the day, in the evening, you might find that a lot of those hurt feelings are resolved, and the lovingness, that loving connection is more easily achieved. So stay true to your values. That's what Sunday and the moon in Taurus remind you. Stay true to your values. Be aware of what you need, but also grateful that you have what you need. If you are enough, you have enough. We've been living in a world for a long time that says if you have enough, you are enough. And, we even have shows on hoarding in this culture. So remember that everything that you own has a cord of energy to it. So be sure that it's something useful or cherished. It's precious to you. That's not just taking up space. Energy is everything, right? Everything is energy. So that space could be filled with something else. I'm wondering if there are any questions out there. If there are, let me know. If you're watching the replay, check in at Moon Powered Astrology. Message me and let me know how you like the show, or what you'd like to see more of or less of. Let me know. Your comments are so valuable to me. I love you all so much, and I really admire and appreciate your input. Also, I want you to know that I was recently published in Feminine Reformation, The Magic and Science of the Goddess, now available on Amazon. It's 12 different chapters on the goddess and the divine feminine. And of course, my chapter is on the moon, the ancient wisdom brought into modern times. And also, I will be here next week. I know that we were on at 11 a.m. this morning, but next week, I believe we're going back to 10 a.m. So I appreciate your adjusting your schedule a little bit for that. And if this time worked better for you, let me know that as well. Yeah. So it's an amazing week. We're building up to a new moon. We're winding down from the last cycle as we build to a new moon. And we've got a lot of energy in Aries. So, you'll feel your go juice ramp up after the new moon, I would wager. And remember that today we've got all that beautiful energy with Venus asking you, what do you want to commit more love to? How can you have a more heart-centered approach? What's the relationship that you need to have with yourself so that you're a magnetic field for the relationships that you want as you pioneer your dreams and make them real moving forward? With Aries ruling the individual, it reminds us that we want to express ourselves individually, but if we were meant to be on a planet by ourselves, living in our own little world, then we would be on a planet labeled with our name as opposed to Earth. And we kind of do. Each live on our own little planet in a way, but we need others. We need and want others to help us realize this vision, because the Aquarian age is about community. So that's something you might want to put in your intentions too. How can you bring that energy that Mars energy in Aquarius into pioneering a new way of interfacing and interacting with your community so that you are acting locally and knowing that you're acting locally has an impact globally. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you. So, Cancer. Well, Lisa, this next cycle is square Cancer. So Cancer is deeply emotional and it's very creative. Of course, it's the energy of birthing, but it is square to this Aries energy. You've been having Pluto opposing that Cancerian energy for a long time. We're now at 28 degrees with Pluto. So when cardinal signs are kicked off, Cancer definitely feels it. So remembering to, to drop into your heart, and that your emotions, when channeled through feelization, are harnessed and can create positively. So that's the way you turn the corner and balance both of those energies. Compassion, big word for you to always remember. So I hope that helped. So there you have it. We're coming down to the wire here. If there are any other questions, let me know. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes here. These are profound times on planet Earth. We are each being told to come into our mastery. And if we remained here, thank you, Lisa. If you are on the planet, there is work for you to do. Whether you are a youngster or an oldster. I know I find that sometimes the elders are like, well, now it's up to the younger generation. Yes, but yes, but we remember as elders, as crowned ones, the triple goddesses and gods. We remember that you can navigate these times, that we thrive and survive. We've just never had so much media aiming to program us. This shows how free we are becoming, how fast this awakening is occurring. Remember to keep peace in your heart and your soul if you want to see peace in the world. Cultivate that. And then let that fan out from your heart to all the areas of the world that might be experiencing suffering or war, or those old paradigms, those old forms that we are awakening to realize that they don't work anymore. It's pretty profound and pretty deep and pretty pervasive when you think of all that needs to shift and change. But we're up to the task because we have the light we need to shine on this new path. Don't forget how powerful you are, my wonderful moon buddies, my lighthouses. And the name of the book again is The Feminine, it's either got a "the" in front of it or it's Feminine Reformation, The Science and Magic of the Goddess. And it's on Amazon, both in ebook form and hardcover now. So, and if there's something that I say that you don't remember, message me at Moon Powered Astrology, and I'll gladly answer you and give you the title. So that's it for today. I thank Debbie Garcia for being behind the scenes, my beautiful co-host, and I'm grateful for you. I wish you a week of love and gratitude and blessings overflowing. As always, I love you to the moon and way beyond.